Hi everyone. This is Adya Balaji here. I welcome you all to this masterclass on prompt engineering, and this is the second week of the content that I'll be discussing with you today. It is the next level, so that's why I've given it as week two overview, intermediate prompt. So let us see what is that we are going to see in this particular week. So this week mainly focuses on elevating your skills from basic prompt creation to control contextual and optimized interactions with LLMs. You will explore mainly system behavior, sampling controls, chunking mechanism, iterative self-feedback, multimodal integration, and fundamentals of tool augmented prompting. So these are the things that you will be going through in this particular video that I've mainly made on the second week. So let us dive in. So the first topic that you're going to go that we are actually going through today is the prompt refinement and iteration. Prompt refinement is basically a process of systematically improving a prompt by analyzing the structure, clarity, specificity, and role context to get a better outputs. Iteration means generating multiple variants and optimizing based on the feedback loop. So basically, what you're going to do here is that you're going to refine your prompt, and it is mainly based on the iteration process. So based on the multiple output variants, you try to enhance the prompt clarity and finally select the best viable output that you actually get from the chat GPT or any AI tool. Okay, here the key concept is ambiguity and specificity. So, for example, I say that, okay, tell me about AI, and then the specificity is something like, tell me about AI, consider yourself as the professor of AI, and explain it to me as if you're explaining it to a 10-year-old child, and I want that in only three bullet points. So, this is known as specificity. So under ambiguity, your prompts are not very much clear. So the chat GPT can give you anything or any AI that you're referring, Gemini or anything, it will give you a very vague answer. Okay. So next one is the role-based prompt that you have already gone through in the week one. Instructional layer, you actually give a layer by layer instructions to your prompt so that based on your instructions, the outputs actually you get it from the chat GPT and output formatting. These are some of the things that actually help you to refine your prompt and after multiple iteration. Okay, so the first exercise is for you is choose three vague prompts and refine each with a role, and then give it a instruction format and then contextual framing, like what is the target audience, a 10-year-old child, like that you can actually frame it. Okay. Okay, and my expert tip would be that use the model's output to refine your input. Okay, and you can directly ask the model itself what information was missing in the prompt that could improve your response, so it will give you a very better prompt the next time. Okay, and the sample question basically normally asked on this topic that can be how does a role-based prompting enhance output quality. So basically, what happens when you give a role-based prompt is it actually tells the model or gives the model a particular persona. So the model assumes itself into that role. So if you tell the chat GPT to assume itself as a professor of AI, it thinks or it assumes or it takes the role of an uh, professor who is an expert in the field of AI. Okay, so that is one of the thing that actually helps with the role-based prompting. Sampling parameters, so this is the very important thing. Okay, that is the temperature and top p. Okay, so the thing is sampling parameters, they control the creativity and determinism of the language model's output. Okay, so the output, how creative it is and how determined it is, that basically depends on the sampling parameters. That is the, here we have given it a name as temperature and top p. So temperature, it basically governs the randomness in a token selection. Okay, and lower deterministic and higher creativity. Uh, so that is the job of a temperature. And top P is nuclear sampling. It limits the probability mass from which the tokens are sampled. Okay, so when I'm saying actually like this, it might find it might be very difficult for you to understand. But as we go forward, we'll take example by example. Then you will feel it very much easy to understand. So temperature, you can use it as a mood. Okay, calm or wild. And top P, you can think it of as a choice filter, conservative or exploratory. That is a basic difference between temperature and the top P. So temperature examples is that, so what I do is I can give the temperature from 0.1 to 1. Okay, and I will use a prompt. Okay, so give me a creative description of the sun. So with this particular prompt, if I am using a temperature of 0.1, okay, so the output will be a very simple one. Whereas when I go for zero point 0.5, which is a medium temperature, you can yourself on the screen, you can see the difference in the output. In the first one, it gives you that the sun is a star in the center of a solar system. It provides light, heat, and energy that supports life on Earth. Whereas in zero point 0.5, okay, it tells us that the sun is a glowing spear of fire that rises each morning, painting the sky with warm colors and giving life to our planet. Now, when you study this, this seems like some storybook narration, right? So, exactly, this temperature entropy is normally very much helpful for people who are into story writing, lyrics writing, songs, okay, like artists. For them, it is useful. And just see for zero point 0.9, the sun is a Jane Golden storyteller, whispering tales of ancient galaxies as it spread its molten laughter across the morning sky. Whereas when you go beyond one, that is 1.2, the sun, a wild cosmic drum beating neon dreams into space, dances with solar winds in a blaze of chaotic brilliance. So just imagine where it was in zero point 0.1 and where it is now at 1.2. So that is actually what temperature does to your prompt. It increases its creativity. So better useful for the people who are who are actually into story writing, storytelling, songwriting, lyrics writing, not for technical purposes. So when you go into the summary table, I have given on one column all the temperature levels and behavior style corresponding to it and the use cases. So zero point 0.1 is basically legal, medical, academic people. Zero point 0.5 is balanced teaching, general writing, whereas zero point 0.9 and 1.2 is only for storytelling or experimental types of things. In that too for artist people. Now top P, that is nuclear sampling. Okay. It basically controls how wide the model samples from possible words. Okay. So write one line about the ocean, top P at zero point 0.1. The ocean is a vast body of water covering most of the other. Very, very, very simple answer and very, I think, accurate answer also. Okay, whereas zero point 0.3, the ocean is a deep and powerful expanse that shapes our planet. Little bit slight different, but then also it's fine. But when we go for zero point 0.8 and 0.95, you see the ocean is a restless, singing jade swirling with secrets older than the moon. So again, it goes into artistic mode. So that's what actually a temperature and a topi does. So it's all into creativity. So again, as we went through in the temperature, I have the on one column the top P levels from zero point 0.1 to zero point 0.9, and at the end I have the use cases for whom a particular level of top P will be useful. Okay, but this is mainly, I would say, it should be limited to people who are into artistic domains. For them, it is useful. Not for technical research writing. It is not that much beneficial. That is what I would say actually. So comparison between the temperature and the top P controls the amount of randomness when it comes to temperature, and the top P diversity in vocabulary choices. Similarly, the risk is that when you keep the temperature too high, everything is nonsense. When you keep the top P too high, you can predict some like unpredictable wordings also you can predict. Okay, so temperature can be used for creativity tuning and top P can be used for style tuning. Okay, so one of the sample questions that you can expect on temperature entropy is that what happens if both temperature and entropy are set high? The model produces highly diverse, less predictable output that may be creative but inconsistent or less accurate. So you should never keep both high. And I would say never use both of them together also. The next topic is context window. So we are done with the refinement and iteration. We are done with temperature and top P. And the third one is the context window and chunking techniques. Now this is actually very important. Why I will tell you this particular side. But the thing is, uh, when we are actually using any AI, any AI module, okay, what happens is that if it has particular limitations like the number of the data that it can be fed. So this particular topic helps you with the large data and how to use large data to feed into AIs to get appropriate output. Okay. So the thing is, normally LLMs they operate within a context window that is either 4,000 or 128,000 tokens it can actually take in. Okay, exceeding this limit leads to a problem. Okay, that is truncation. So basically, your output breaks off or it goes into hallucinations. So that is why your input should be under 4,000 to 128,000 tokens. And large language models, okay, like ChatGPT, they do not read unlimited text. Okay, so you cannot feed in chunks and chunks of data. It should be broken down into small chunks, and then it should be given to the ChatGPT. So that is what is known as context window and chunking techniques. Okay, so basically this limit is mainly called as that is they can only process a fixed amount of information at one time. This is called as context window. Okay, if your input exceeds the context limit, the model ignores or uh, that is truncates earlier parts, okay, or forgets the earlier parts, okay, or omits the earlier parts. This is why long documents cannot be pasted directly, parts get cut off. So that is one of the problem with LLMs. We can't help it with that, but there's a solution. That is the solution is context window and chunking techniques. So what is context window? So basically here you can see I've made a table where I've added the different models right from ChatGPT 3.5 to ChatGPT 4.0. Okay, the approximate context window size that is 3.5 was having a limit of 4,000 tokens. ChatGPT 4 has 8,000 to 32,000 tokens. 4 Turbo 128,000 tokens and 4.0 128,000 tokens. Right now, while I'm making this video, we are into ChatGPT. Basically, I use ChatGPT 5.2. That is my paid version. Okay, so basically, LLM's context window is maximum number of tokens. So that is in a very simple word. Context window is basically the maximum number of tokens or the word or the symbols it can read and remember during a single prompt. Okay, so when you are actually giving a single prompt, okay, the number of the sorry, the number of words and the symbols that it can read in a single prompt, that is what is known as the basically the token. Okay, so that is why there is a little bit problem with chat gpt, and for that the solution is simply context window and chunking techniques. That is why they exist. Okay, so you cannot actually exceed beyond that. And now when it comes to chat gpt 5.2 model, it can take approximately 4 lakh tokens. So it has increased its capacity, that is the total context window approximately is 4 lakh tokens. Okay, and but the maximum output token limit is 1,28,000 tokens. Okay, so that is the difference with that is the new thing with ChatGPT 5.2. Okay, uh, why chunking is actually needed? Okay, chunking when your text or document is too large. Okay, you must actually break it into small pieces. So you cannot basically enter the entire data into ChatGPT. Again, it will cause you a problem. So that is why chunking is actually needed. And with small chunks that you feed into the chat GPT, you get a very appropriate answer also. It does not have the problem of hallucination when you feed a small chunks of data. Okay, so what it does is it helps the AI to remember key ideas, summarize the large content, process long documents section by section, reduce hallucination, and maintain the accuracy. So these are some of the advantages of actually sorry, chunking. Best practice for chunking. Okay, break the documents into parts based on the natural divisions like introduction, methodology, result, conclusion. If you're into paper writing, intermediate summarization. Okay, so what you can do is you can feed it a small chunk and tell it to summarize. Small chunk, summarize. Small chunk, summarize. Final prompt, combine all the summaries. This prevents the memory overload. Okay, and use marker like based on the summary of part one. So that helps, actually helps the ChatGPT to remember and not give you an incorrect answer. Okay, so there's a small example of a context window and chunking techniques. So here you can give it like a prompt for chunk one, summarize this particular text in three bullet points, then the chunk two, chunk three, like that. You can actually give it and tell it to summarize in a three bullet point, whatever way you want. You can tell it to give it in a form of a table or again a paragraph. It is up to you. And finally, you can give a prompt like summarize all the previous chunks into one paragraph or whatever you want. But basically, the entire idea is to give the chat GPT all the details in a small parts or a small bits. Feedback based prompting. Now this is a very important technique. Okay, so the thing is, feedback prompting, it uses the model's ability to self evaluate and self correct to improve the output iteratively. Okay, so what you do is you ask the model to rate its answer, like ask what would you, how, like what would make this prompt better. So you ask the chat GPT itself. And so the example is like list three pros and cons of online education, and again a follow up, that is the feedback, would be like improve the above answer using the examples and a clearer structure. Okay, so the exercise for this particular type of prompting is, that is the feedback based prompting, is create a prompt, you get the output for it, and then ask to rate your answer. The You ask the model itself to rate your answer from 1 to 10, and then also ask the model to suggest some improvement. Apply the apply the suggestion in the prompt revision, and then again see the get the output, and there you will see a clear difference. Okay, so these techniques might seem very elaborate, but they are very much needed for you to get a precise answer. So the sample question on this particular topic is, how does feedback prompting align with human in the loop learning? So basically it enables iterative refinement by allowing the human guidance and AI self-assessment, improving accuracy and relevance of the output. Sorry. So here basically what is happening is that here the human interference is also there and AI is also helping you, which actually improves the accuracy of your system or the output. The next one is the multimodal prompting. Multimodal LMs process multiple input type like images, text, PDF, code, or audio. So what basically you're doing is you can give or upload any of the PDF, image, or a Word file into the ChatGPT and ask it to carry out a particular task. So example is that you can upload an image and ask the ChatGPT to describe what is there in this infographic. You can upload an infographic image and then ask the ChatGPT to summarize the image in three bullet points or a table, whatever you want. It is up to you. Or upload a resume PDF. Now this is very important. You can upload a resume PDF and you can tell the ChatGPT to summarize the candidate skill in a table format. And the next topic is prompting with the external tool. So tool Augmented prompting combines LLMs with APIs. Okay, so calculators, code execution, or web access. So some of the tools that are supported is Python, browser, and plugins like Zapier, okay, Wolfram, or OpenTable. So you can ask the ChatGPT to write a Python function to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius. So search current inflation rate in India and compare to 2020. So with this, what happens? The ChatGPT actually accesses an external tool, okay, for your output. So that is actually the meaning of prompting with external tool. Okay, so the exercise for you on this is write two prompts that requires calculation, use the code tool to execute them. Okay, you can also ask ChatGPT to execute and give you the particular waveform of the output in Python. So ChatGPT does all these things, but it actually takes help of an external tool. So how do sample question is how do tools like Python interpreter extend the model's capabilities? Okay, they basically allow the model to perform real-time computation, data visualization, and logic execution beyond pure text generation. So basically, rather than going with any software, you can actually give the code to the ChatGPT and tell the ChatGPT itself to execute it, give you the output. And if you are into any optimization or forecasting work, you can tell the ChatGPT itself to give the output images or the waveform. So it gives you entire thing. But this happens only because it is able to comply with the external tools. So that is the topic, prompting with the external tool. So that was all for the second week content. So if we rewind a little bit back, so we started off with the prompt refinement and iteration, where you're giving a prompt and asking the chat GPT only to to refine your prompt with the help of your output. And then temperature and topic, it is basically creativity, okay, mainly used for the people who are into artistic domains. And the next one is context window and chunking techniques. This is mainly used because the chat GPT has a limit. It cannot take all the data into once because it will go into hallucination. So you send bit by bit or chunk by chunk and tell the chat GPT to summarize or whatever task you want it to do based on that particular chunk of data. Okay, and the next one is the feedback based prompting. You ask the chat GPT itself to suggest you a better prompt or how you can improve your output. And the final, the one is multi model prompting. Here you can give any input like or upload your image, PDF or code and tell the chat GPT to carry out a particular task. And finally, prompting with the external tool where the chat GPT supports Python browser plugins, okay, where you can actually carry out whatever Python task you want, or if you want to access the web browser for real-time data, that also ChatGPT does. So this is the entire content for the second week. In the next upcoming video, we will be working on some of the hands-on activities. So I'll be taking the contents of the week one and week two, and I will be doing a hands-on video, which would be very much helpful for most of you. Okay, so thank you for going through the video. Okay, please do like and subscribe. Thank you all.